Last week in New York, the Guardians took 2 of 3 by being the team with the big hits and having a great bullpen. A week later, the Guardians are doing the exact opposite. They're not getting the big hits. The bullpen's been mostly fine, and we continue to debate the age-old question of clutch.
Parker Messick, Cleveland Guardians. You're listening to Locked On Guardians.
You are Locked On Guardians, your daily podcast on the Cleveland Guardians. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Win or lose, we always show up. We are always here on Locked On Guardians. Runners in scoring position. No runners in scoring position. Rain, sleet, snow, blowout. If Austin Hedges pitches, we're still here because we are your only daily podcast on the Cleveland Guardians that covers your team every day from the majors, the minors, the draft, and everything in between, even when times are hard. On today's show, Jeff will get into the Guardians trying to bounce back in Game 3, having to face Carlos Rodon again. Fun. Talking about how baseball continues to be a game of inches, some interesting decisions by the Guardians in this loss to the Yankees. Then we start off the show with the age-old question of what is it to be clutch? Because the Guardians, just since they left New York, have not had it. And that, of course, is Jeff Ellis, who's been your host here for 8 seasons. And I am Justin Lada. I've been here with Jeff for 4 of those seasons. And we've both been covering the Guardians minor league system in the draft for 19 years apiece. So, yeah, last week was a lot of fun, Jeff, in New York. 2 really fun games, Tuesday and Wednesday. They had the big hits. They left. They didn't do so good on Thursday, but you were like, yeah, whatever. Like they had a good Monday, they had a good Tuesday, Wednesday. You'll live with that. Went to Texas on Friday and didn't get any big hits Friday. They had a great game Saturday, and then back to what happened Thursday and Friday, and then it carried over. I mean, they had some big hits, I guess, on Monday. You know, Angel Martinez had the go-ahead home run in that game. They put him up 5-4, but after that, it was nothing in between. And honestly, I hate to say it, Jeff, but in this one, the Guardians easily probably could have been shut out, should have been shut out, because Jose Ramirez singles right in the 3rd inning. He steals second and then comes home on a Chase DeLauder 2-out single, which not ruled an error by Anthony Volpe. It was hit hard, so I think it's the right call. But Volpe was there, could have made a play on the ball. He didn't. I'm not saying it should have been an error, obviously, but you know he was in position where he could have made a nice play. So very easily could have gone the other direction if Jose doesn't steal and that doesn't happen. And then Angel Martinez gets to first base on a ground out where he hustled and beat Carrigold to the bag and did your favorite thing. He slid into first base, and they scored a run off of that. And if they don't do that, they're shut out. So ironically, I guess it could have been worse, which I don't think anybody wants to hear today.
Yeah, which is weird because they also had the most base runners in this game. They had the most opportunities. Both.
So it could have been better. It could have been better. It could have
been better. I mean, come on, like in that whole inning. Yeah, I know but like, how often do you see a situation where there are 5 base runners in an inning and a team only gets 2 runs? Like, it's also the other side of it. You know, and then you know the opportunities throughout. Like I said, we'll talk about the whole Kwan bunt, but also, I mean, Jose Ramirez is currently, you know, a bottom 40 hitter in high leverage situations. And, you know, he had 2 hits tonight, but it was the 2 times there was no one on. When they needed Jose wasn't there. Now, he's not the worst hitter this year by WRC plus in those situations. It's Manzardo, but he is the 2nd worst on this team with runners in scoring position. No one's surprised. Rocchio 1, Rhys Hoskins, and then Schneeman's actually at 152. And then DeLauder's a 99. So those are the guys you want up this year. Now, you know, that's only, I think, do we have anyone who has 30 plate appearances by Rocchio? So he's the only one who has hit 30. So it's a very small sample. But for whatever reason this year, like Jose is just not hitting in that situation. You know, Bazana, if you get rid of that Friday game, is in a heck of a slump. He is really struggling. So it's that hard situation. You had 2 base hits by Martinez. You had 3 times Manzardo reached base. You didn't have any extra base hits. Like there's no oomph in the bats right now. They need to talk to some of our sponsors to get a little more oomph in their wood because it just doesn't exist for the Guardians. And then on top of that, it's timely hitting. And then it's terrible decisions. Like, I know we'll talk about that in the, you know, maybe the game of inches and choices. But yeah, they had more base runners in this game. They had opportunities. They just couldn't make it work. And then, like, it's also just the annoyance of why did no one challenge when Jazz Chisholm struck out, and like why are we giving Chisholm more reasons to perform? He came up with the big hit late for this one. It's a frustrating series. It's a frustrating essentially week at this point. With this team just like the bullpen being the starting pitching being relatively solid, I feel like, and then the offense, they're getting guys on base. They've had 16 base runners the last 2 games, and they just don't have a lot to show for it. I mean, 5 runs is okay, but like it's 2 games they could have very easily won. They probably should have won, and instead you lose 2 to the Yankees.
Yeah, if your bullpen is better on Monday, if Gaddis and Armstrong don't fall behind hitters, you probably get through those innings, or maybe you don't even need to have Armstrong in the game because you don't get to the 10th inning, right? If Gaddis doesn't fall behind hitters, because they scored 5 runs, and in most cases that's going to be enough. When, like I said the other day, when it was 5-4, I was like, probably not going to be enough runs to win this game, but so against the Yankees, it usually is not. Whether or not they have Aaron Judge, they still have a deep lineup. And then they had opportunities to score more. They didn't. And then, they're 2 for 21 the last 2 days with runners in scoring position. So like you said, they're having a lot of opportunities. Having 21 opportunities with runners in scoring position over 2 games is really good. Like you want those chances. That's a sign that you're getting guys on, you're making things happen, which again, Will Warren, not a slouch, pretty good pitcher. They did then Garrett Cole, they knocked him out to the 4th inning. Those are all good things. You got deep into the Yankees bullpen on Monday, and you forced Garrett Cole out in the 4th inning. They had to go to the bullpen again on Tuesday, but you just couldn't get the big hit when it mattered. And that's like, I don't know how many times we've had this discussion on here, Jeff, about hitting. Like RBI is a flawed stat because it's depends on when you get
the guys in front of you.
Yeah, if somebody gets on base, but now the question right now is, okay, the guys are on base and you're not getting your hits. And is it cyclical? Is it fluky? Because like you have guys who are getting hits with nobody on. Rocchio, I think Rocchio has been their best hitter with runners in scoring position, or was that
far and away? Okay. No, it's runners in scoring position. It's
so like Rocchio is good at that, but he's hitting 9th. So like the whole lineup's in front of him sometimes, so that helps. And then you have other guys who come to the plate and they get hits with nobody on, and then you can't control that. But I don't know, it's one of those things that's hard to explain, like what clutch is. Like I guess sometimes it wasn't the case tonight where some defender made a great play. Like sometimes that happens, but I don't think that was the case in this game. They're just guys didn't have good at bats. So I don't know. It's just one of those age old questions. Like, is clutch a real thing? Like you just get hits when you get hits, and do some guys have it where I don't have any evidence in front of me, but we've seen in the past where some guys are having a really good year. Like Gabriel Arias last year was their best hitter with runners in scoring position, right? Last year.
Yeah, he was.
Nobody. Does anybody really believe he's the most clutch player on the team? I don't think anybody believes that. It just happened that way. So that's what I'm saying. Like, it's hard to control these things. It just stinks when it happens. Guardians coming into this game, by the way, were 20th in baseball in runs scored with runners in scoring position, regardless of how many outs there are. So they probably are, but they're in the bottom 10, which probably tracks. Overall WRC plus with runners in scoring position is 90, which is 26th. So, yeah, it's just not been a very good year. And I don't even know what their average on balls in play is to sit here and say, like, oh, is there a degree of bad luck? It's it is a 271 average on balls in play. I would say that is kind of bad luck, right? But it's not terrible. Jeff doesn't seem to care, so.
It's below the 285 normal. It's, according to, heading in today, they're at a 271, which was 28th in baseball. So tied with the Mets.
Yeah. So I guess there's like a degree of bad luck. Again, multiple things can be true at once. There's a degree of bad luck, and there's also issues where they're just not getting hits when they need to. And you don't have guys coming through. Like, again, Jose Ramirez had the 2 hits, had the steal, but those hits didn't come with runners on. And is that his fault? I don't know. Maybe it is, because he is Jose Ramirez needing to do those things. But it would have been great if those hits when he had those hits, the guys were on, they just happened not to be on. He did create a run by stealing second. I can't really, I mean, he had 2 chances to make a difference in this game in terms of those other 2 spots. I know some people are going to blame him, and I like there's some share of blame there, but he also was one of the reasons they even scored runs in this game in the first place. So it's tricky. It's just one of those stretches, and now watch on Wednesday, they'll go 4 for 10 with runners in scoring position and score 5 runs, because these things, they go in waves, and baseball frustrates you. That's just what it does. It's fun, and then it makes you mad. All right. Anything else to add, Jeff, or should we move on?
I move on. We've hammered the dead horse almost as much as they've hammered the ball into the ground or straight up in the air on pop-ups. So I say we come back and talk about some of the choices in this one, because there were some weird ones.
There was some choices that probably did hurt.
As my kids would say, that's a choice.
That is a choice, and you have to make good choices. I don't know if the Guardians did that, but we'll talk about that next.
Hey, it's Mike and John from Locked On Angels. We wanted to talk to you about something that's important, and that's your family.
I've been married a few years now, and my wife and I have a 1-year-old, and we're always thinking about his future. Who's he going to become? How can we help? And what ways can we make sure his future is secure?
Yeah, I'm in a different season. I'm married. I have 3 young adult kids, and lately I've been thinking a lot about how to make sure my family's taken care of in the long term.
This is why life insurance matters, not because it solves everything, but because it helps provide financial security for the people you love the most.
And that's where Ethos comes in. Ethos makes getting life insurance fast and easy, 100% online. You can get a quote in seconds, apply in minutes, and even get same-day coverage. And there's no medical exam. You just answer a few simple health questions online, and you can get up to $3 million in coverage. Some policies are as low as $30 a month.
So take 10 minutes to get covered today with life insurance through Ethos. Get your free quote at ethos.com/lockedonmlb. That's ethos.com/lockedonmlb.
Get up to $3 million in coverage in as little as 10 minutes at ethos.com/lockedonmlb. Application times may vary. Rates may vary.
Hey, thanks to everybody out there who's listening and making Locked On Guardians your first listen today and every day, wherever it is that you get podcasts. If you are here every day and you haven't checked out the Everydayer Club, great time to do it now, because you get a 7-day free trial anytime you sign up over at LockedOnGuardians@supercast.com, or check the link in your show notes. You get access to ad-free episodes of Locked On Guardians every single day in your audio feed. You also get access to the private listener group chat with myself, Jeff, other fans of the Guardians, and quite frankly, every other show that exists in the Locked On Network, and their fans as well on Discord. So something there for everybody. Check the link in the show notes or go to LockedOnGuardians.supercast.com right now to learn more. Where's the Guardians? We're showing up every single day, no matter what. Well, they are, but not getting those hits. All right, so let's talk about some decisions that could have been better in this game. This is one of those games. Like, I know I said yesterday's game or Monday's game was enjoyable to watch. Some people didn't agree. You didn't agree. Some people did. I feel like it was a pretty even split on that. This game,
pretty even split, yeah.
I think this game was enjoyable for the most part because it was a close game all the way. So you had the same feel. Like, I thought there was tension and it was a close game for the most part. I'm more frustrated by this game because of the lack of, or the opportunities to win, knocking Garrett Cole out early, and just some very poor decision making. Like, we're split on the Tim Herrin thing. Like, I don't disagree with your point. I'll let you get to it, but Tim Herrin had Jazz Chisholm struck out. Unfortunately, the umpire made the wrong call, and Austin Hedges, for some reason, didn't challenge it. They had a challenge available. If he challenges it, if you're watching on YouTube, I'm showing the 3D strike zone. So if he challenges it, that's a strike 3, and Chisholm's out. I don't have a problem in a vacuum. Maybe this makes it sound better to you, Jeff. In a vacuum of keeping Herrin in there in that inning, because he had a relatively clean inning out of the bullpen. What was that, the 6th inning? I think he came in. I'm sorry, 7th. He had a relatively clean 7th, comes in after the 8th, and then you have Jazz and you have Spencer Jones. So in a vacuum, after a really good 7th inning against those two guys who I assume have pretty big splits, he hung a 3-2 slider to Chisholm, and he hit a home run. Like you said, he had ammo to, the fans were chanting overrated, and then Hammy's comments. So he had lots of ammo and whatever. He's he's having a very mediocre season. And that comes from somebody who's been a fan of Chaz for a long time. He's on my fantasy team. He's the most expensive player on my fantasy team this year. So I should tell you how my season's going. He's not having a great season, but Herrin left a 3-2 slider over the middle. He hit it like he should have. He should have been out, but if the umpire's not perfect and Hedges had a chance to reverse it, he didn't. So in a vacuum, I don't have a problem with leaving Herrin out there, but I understand putting guys in certain situations also is not the best decision.
So with him in particular, he has an 85 versus lefties, a 100 this year versus righties. So it's a difference. I don't know if I'd go. It's borderline significant. And through his career, he's been much better against righties and lefties. But my issue is more that situation. Like, if you want to use him in this situation, then you need to figure it out better. Like, just asking him to do something. So this is a pitcher who's struggled of late. Like, his last outing was great, but before this, he's had some struggles. So this is a pitcher who's struggling, and you're sending him out in a situation where you're asking him to do something that you haven't asked him to do all year. To me, that is always going to lead to an issue. Like, that's why I had an issue. Like, you're asking him to get more than one inning. He's not giving you more than an inning. I mean, I didn't go check and see if he's done more than an inning this year. I'd be surprised if he has. But
back in late April, he did pitch inning in 2/3 against the Rays, but that's been
so once, in April. No. And just trying to get having a guy who's struggled to do something you haven't asked him to do all year, just that feels like a recipe for failure. And yes, he technically should have at least escaped from there. But I mean, that's a killer to me in this game. One, you're asking someone to do something that you haven't asked him to do all year, and you're asking him to go out for a second inning. He gives up the game winner, and then the first 2-run home run. It's like, why are you even throwing anything to Spencer Jones remotely in the heart of the plate? Like, that Secconi was great, but that was a terrible decision. I don't know what Hedges was thinking with a pitch like that. Is just like
my guess is that was a mislocation. Like, I don't think they were intending to throw it where it ended up. I can't imagine that's a pitch you're like, I throw this pitch, that works. I don't think I can't imagine that was where he wanted that pitch to end. It was a cutter. Middle. There's no way Hedges called for a cutter middle.
No, I know, but it's like, don't even throw it even remotely close where it can, back up to the middle. Like,
I'd have to go and see where Hedges was set up. Like, it's probably poor execution, if anything. Like, maybe it should have been outside, maybe it should have been lower. I don't know. I'm not gonna blame Hedges without seeing. I have to go back, and I was not watching. My wife and I were out celebrating our anniversary, so I didn't see that particular part of the game anyway. But that's a good point. I think people. There's a lot of people out there who talk about, like, oh, pitch counts and pitchers are babied or whatever. Like, okay, so Herrin threw, how many pitches did he throw in this game? If I can get back to the box score, he threw 24 pitches. So not a lot of pitches, but he also pitched last night. So there is that. And the other thing too that I've noticed too, and I've asked pitching coaches, and this maybe matters more at the minor league level, but I've asked pitching coaches too. It's or even the managers, is it's not really the pitch count. Like, you monitor the pitch count if they're in stressful innings, which Herrin had not been any stressful counts because he had a great 7th inning. The issue is oftentimes is guys finishing an inning, sitting down, and then coming back up to get warm again. Starting pitchers train to do that in spring training. That's why you have the re-entry rule, where if a guy gets knocked around in spring training, if he throws so many pitches, they can pull him out and put him back in the next inning so they can continue to work with him on the sitting down, getting up, build up. Whereas relievers, you don't really do that unless there's a specialized case, right? Like, you have some guys who are more experienced at doing that. I'm sure Herrin's done it in his career before, but that's also like one of those muscle memory things too, where it's fine to sit there and say, well, he did it last year, he did it in 2024, but he really hadn't done it in 2026. And it's a use it or lose it kind of thing, right? Like, you kind of have to have more build up and experience doing that. So it's not the pitch count. It's more the sitting down and getting back up and getting warm again, which most relievers just don't do, especially your high leverage guys, unless it's a specialized case. That's why you don't use Cade Smith for 2 innings unless it's the playoffs. And even then,
or yesterday.
Yesterday, that was a special case because he only threw 1 pitch in that inning. He came in, and Gaddis, messed up and didn't have a good inning, and he was already warming up. So what were you going to do at that point? It's just that age-old argument. Like, do you ask in preparation for the playoffs? Do you ask Cade Smith or whoever to go 6 outs or 5 outs if you haven't, to make sure he's done it at some point and can understand it? There is that. So, I mean, Herrin only threw 10 pitches on Monday too, so not a big deal. So yeah, I agree with you there. Like, you're asking someone to do something who hasn't.
I don't think that was the biggest dumb decision of the day, though. I think when we come back from break, we got to discuss the one that everyone is waiting for us to talk about. I think that's what we have to do next.
It is a poor decision. I also will say this. I don't think it actually really would have mattered in the end, but we'll get into that coming up next. If you want to go to any fun events this summer, but you're worried about whether you're going to see a huge jump in prices at checkout, maybe you're waiting in line online to get tickets and you're stuck in a waiting room, you can eliminate all of that with Game Time. No queues, no surprise fees, no prices jumping at checkout, because you're getting amazing tickets and experience just a few taps thanks to Game Time's constant innovation. Simple to use. Game Time guarantee means you get 100% authentic tickets. No worry about scams. Delivered on time at the best price, and the fees are included. So the price you see is the price you pay. I've talked multiple times. Benson Boone has been a very hot ticket for the last couple of years. I think 2 years in a row, actually. My wife is going to see Benson Boone because of Game Time, because you wait till the last minute to get good prices, or you don't wait in those long queues the day that the tickets go on sale. You wait for a better price. And that is what Game Time allows you to do. And it allows you to make decisions at the last minute. Maybe you don't like the weather for a Guardians game, right? You can check the last minute too and get the best price out there. Take the guesswork out of buying MLB tickets and tickets to all events with Game Time. Download the app, create your account, use code LOCKEDON for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create the account, redeem code LOCKEDON for $20 off. Download the Game Time app today. Summer is here. It is getting a little bit sticky here in Northeast Ohio, if you haven't noticed. But when summer comes along, I want those summer flavors. I also don't want to be eating tons of sugar, feeling guilty and getting that crash. And that is why I rely on energy, like 5-Hour Energy cotton candy flavor. It's got the lovely summer flavor of cotton candy everybody loves, most people love. But you don't have to worry about the crash and the guilt. You get a tasty caffeine boost, 0 sugar, easy way to satisfy your sweet tooth craving while keeping things simple on the go. Got a busy June. Already been to a bunch of baseball games, just celebrated an anniversary, had birthdays to celebrate, going on vacation here soon. Gonna need a lot of energy, and I can't be sitting here having a bunch of sugar all day. It's not gonna be good. I'll fall asleep, and I'll feel bad about it too. So that's why I'm gonna bring on the sweetness with cotton candy 5-Hour Energy shots, which are available now at 5hourenergy.com and Amazon. You know the drill. If you're this far into the episode of Locked On Guardians, hit the bell on YouTube so you get notified of when episodes go live, or we put up reaction videos to frustrating games, good games. I'd like to react to a good game once again. So hit the bell on YouTube, you get notifications for that. Also subscribe, please, if you haven't yet on YouTube. I don't know where our subscriber count is, but we'd love to push the number north as much as we can. And then auto download on all your audio platforms. We are literally available every single audio platform. If we're not, let us know. I'm sure we'll find a way to be on there because we are there every day. And then if you auto download, it keeps the show in your feed so you can always catch up. And if you don't catch up, honestly, it doesn't matter. Still helps us that you auto downloaded it. So we appreciate that. Jeff, I would appreciate if the Guardians would have some situational awareness and not pull off a safety squeeze with Kyle Manzardo on third base. That's my biggest gripe with that whole call. It's not the play itself, because Stephen Kwan is unreliable as an offensive player this year, and they're having a hard time putting runs across. So I don't have a problem with the call, again, in a vacuum, but this is why context matters. Kyle Manzardo should not be the guy you're doing this with on third base. Kwan didn't lay down a great bunt either. On the other hand, I think Kwan makes an out even if he swings away. Like I just didn't have any faith he was going to come through. I mean, nobody was coming through. It was DeLauder and I guess Martinez got credit for a hit. Those were your hits with runners in scoring position, and that was it. So I could sit here and complain about it and say it's a bad call. And again, good results are not better than bad process. Good process is still better. It was a bad process, even though I think the results would have ended up the same regardless. But with Kyle Manzardo on third, really? Like, what are we doing with that? Jeff is speechless by that call, which I absolutely agree with.
Yeah, looking at that play, it's like I agree, first and foremost. Like, that's not the call with Manzardo on third, but same time you have one out. Like, you have a run on third and one out. You have a guy who does not strike out much, who is probably one of your best guys in making contact. I know he's not hitting the ball very hard, so who knows if he'd hit it deep enough with Manzardo at third, but still, like, in that situation, you're better off swinging away. You're, with who you have on base. It's not like you have someone who can break and beat it. And then, it was not a drag bunt. It's like, if you're going to try to do that safety squeeze down the line, like, I would think you're trying to drag it towards first. So there's, the pitcher has to cover and throw home, not right down the third base line, middle of your bat. So the pitcher can pick it up and tag out your runner. Like, it didn't make any sense. Normally people are like, oh, why did so-and-so bunt? It's because the player chose. Like, they give them that. This was a called play, and this was a dumb called play. I don't think there's any
both players got to be in on it. Yeah.
Yeah, since both players have to be in on it, it was that. So I don't understand it. You have one out. You got a guy who has shown a little bit of signs of life, but is still struggling. But, like, he's not going to strike out, which is the first thing that this team has had issues with in that situation. And, it's like, no, swing away. Don't try this. This was a bad call for a team struggling to do something. It just reeked of desperation and the hope that the other team is going to be caught unaware. But when a guy, it doesn't matter if they're unaware. When you lay down a bunt that bad, you've still made it easier on the other team. Like, that's just the situation, very bottom line situation. They made it super easy. They gave away, the runner. They gave away the out there. I mean, they did everything possible to make it easier on New York and kind of ruin their last really good opportunity. So, yeah, I thought that was it didn't make any sense to me on any level.
Yeah, it did not. It was a bad call. So you're saying the Guardians should listen to Mel Gibson more? Is that what you're saying?
Because Swing Away. I've actually never seen that movie.
No, comment below if you know what we're referencing.
I know the reference, but I've actually never watched it.
Comment below if you're in on the joke there.
It's like one of his 3 or 4 of his movies that I have not watched. Not Mel Gibson, the director.
Well, I haven't seen a lot of his movies either. But
yeah, no, I just think that in that situation, that was a weird call. To me, that was a weird call.
Yeah, if you had a better runner on third, I could see it. But again, it was bad execution.
But here's the thing: even if you had a great runner on third, even if you had like Chandler Simpson on third base, you're still going to be out because how bad the bunt was.
Yeah,
it doesn't matter. The bunt was so terrible. It's like Kwan. It's like Kwan. Come on, dude. Like, you don't do much, so at least bunt correctly. But like,
bad decision. Bad.
It was bad execution
all around. Yeah, wrong call at the wrong time for sure. So I think we could say, again, multiple things could be true at once. It was the wrong call, and Steven could have done better. And
both Stevens could have done better in that situation.
Both Stevens could have done better in that situation. And the same with the Tim Herrin thing. You could sit there and say probably shouldn't have asked Tim Herrin to go out there and do what he did. Tim Herrin should have had a strikeout of Jazz Chisholm.
Tim Herrin knows what he did.
He should have had the strikeout. They should have challenged it. He also should have thrown a better pitch to Jazz Chisholm in that situation too. So again, all these things are true at once. Everybody is at fault in a loss like that. You know who's not at fault though in this game, Jeff, is Slade Cecconi. I think we should, before we get out of here, at least give him his flowers, because
100%.
He has been early in the year. I feel like, the expectations.
People wanted to send him down. Everyone's jumping to add Logan Allen back on this team all the time.
I know.
For Slade, for Tanner, for Joey, basically everyone but Gavin and Parker at some point.
I think everyone should knock on wood the fact the Guardians, again, people are like, oh, they should send this guy down. Again, knock on wood, the Guardians are the only team in baseball that have had 5 starting pitchers all year. That's a testament to health and weather at the same time. Consistency is important. And, Slade Cecconi had some rough starts early in the year. I think he allowed 6 to the Mariners. He allowed 5 to the Braves. He allowed 7 to the Astros. He allowed 5 to the Athletics. Since that Athletic start, Jeff, he's allowed 2 runs, 0 runs, 2 runs, 3, 3, 1, 2. So
since he started getting good catching, right? Wasn't that right about the time that's happened?
Technically his last start was with Bo Naylor on April 7th. So there is that, I guess. Oh, no, this is what is going on with this box score? Didn't they trade for Patrick Bailey in May, not April, or was it April?
I think it was actually in April.
Okay. Anyway, so his last start in Kansas City was 5 innings, 5 1/3 innings, 2 runs. That was with Bo Naylor. So it wasn't a direct correlation, but yes, his best starts have come since then. And I give him a lot of credit. Like he had 7 strikeouts and 2 walks. He made the bad execution pitch to Spencer Jones, but you're not going to be perfect. If you are a starting pitcher and you can't be allowed to allow more than 2 runs, you're going to lose a lot of games because you can't hold lineups to 2 runs.
You're right. It was May 9th. May 9th. I was wrong.
Oh, okay. So yeah, okay. Yeah. So since then, so his really good start was Kansas City. I mean, he had a good start in against the Cubs on April 5th. He had 6 innings of shutout ball. So he had some good starts in there as well. But the point is, he pitched really good in this one. You can't expect starters to give up less than 2 runs. You're just not going to win a lot of games that way. And he's facing the same team for the second time in a week in 2 starts. And same with Garrett Cole. And look, the Guardians knocked Garrett Cole out early. They didn't do enough.
So that's the pen 2 days in a row. They did what you're supposed to. But...
Yeah, and that's what I was saying. I was like, oh man, like they got deep into the pen Monday. Maybe they lost Monday, but maybe that can have an impact on Tuesday. And then it didn't have an impact because you didn't come through with runners in scoring position. Like that's the thing of why this is so frustrating, because a lot of people want to bury the team and they're having a bad stretch right now. Like they are doing good things. They're doing bad things. They're doing good things to lead up to the bad things to happen. Like good things have to happen in order to have 21 opportunities with runners in scoring position. But bad things happen when only 2 things happen with runners in scoring position 21 times. You know what I'm saying? So like, yeah. And then to lose by 2 in extra innings to the Yankees and then lose by 1 in this one, meaning you did plenty of good things. You just didn't do enough good things. So I guess that depends on the expectations too. And there's no consolation prizes. There's no moral victories. This isn't hockey where you get a point for going to extra innings. But yeah, Slade Cecconi, I give him credit. The guy's turned it around, and it's very hard to face the same team 2 starts in a row, especially a team like the Yankees, no matter who's not in the lineup or who is. I feel good about that going forward. Like I think that's a really good sign that, you know, Tanner had a great start on Saturday. We'll see if he can follow up with another one. Tanner has had the most quality starts in the team, by the way, which I thought was interesting. I was looking the other day, which, by the way, a quality start is 6 innings or more and 3 runs or less. He leads the team in that, even more than Parker or Gavin. It's kind of stunning. Just because Parker's been so good, but he's not getting deep in the games.
He's not going deep, I was going to say. And
Gavin's
had some high highs, but he's also had some inconsistencies as much as people don't want to talk about it.
Yeah, so this team has been very durable starting pitching wise, but they've all except for Parker. Parker has had the least amount of lows, I would say. He's been the steadiest pitcher on the staff. Been there. Agreed. Yeah. So it's still been good overall, but yeah, you're getting Slade back like now, but of course now Cantillo's kind of hitting a bump in the road. So it's hard to get 9 hitters to hit at the same time. It's also hard to have 5 starting pitchers on a roll at the same time too. But they did it last September in a 6-man rotation. Can't do that right now, but I don't know. Things could be worse. Like it's frustrating, but things could be worse. I know people are going to say they're only a half game up on the White Sox. Yeah, they are. They could easily lose on Thursday. The White Sox could win, and the Guardians could be in second place. But it's a long season. We'll see what happens. We'll be back to talk about it on Thursday, as always.
We will. We'll hopefully have some fun things to talk about. If not, you know, there's lots of areas and ways we can make it fun. We don't have to fixate on the negative. We can jump into the positive. And we want to thank you all for joining us. Rate and review, download daily. It helps. Make sure you click that, you know, alert button, because otherwise Facebook is just a bunch of shorts anymore. Facebook, YouTube. I mean, Facebook's just a wasteland of terror and fear. But YouTube is a wasteland of terror and short videos. So thank you all for joining us. Win, lose, or frustration. And go Guardians, go.